I hate crypto and I love graphs. So today's a great day for us to look at crypto prices, graphs, and graphics cards prices, because I love graphics cards, which is why I hate crypto. Anyway, the point is, if you look at the last, 1 month, Ethereum prices, which is the main, not the only, but the main cryptocurrency that is mined on GPUs, we see it going down. Yay, unless you invested in this stuff. But, that's not the only thing that affects graphics cards prices. And does it affect graphics cards prices? Because I always see people arguing in my comment section when I say that the main thing driving graphics card prices to their insane heights right now is crypto, and specifically Ethereum. People always push back against that for all sorts of variety of reasons involving conspiracies and the reasons are all over the board. And okay, I don't think that Ethereum and crypto in general is the only thing driving graphics cards prices through the roof, but there is a connection between crypto and graphics cards prices because graphics cards are literally printing presses for Ethereum, right? There is no reason why these two things would not be connected. And it's the main reason why the people pushing for let's all stop buying GPUs and then the price will go down are wrong. Because as long as a GPU is a printing press for cryptocurrency, there's people who aren't even gamers who will buy those at whatever price it is profitable to produce cryptocurrency on. So when you do the calculation for whether or not it makes sense to buy a given graphics card for the purpose of printing more crypto, you have to look at the value of the cryptocurrency, right? The price of electricity, buying the GPU, all of those things go into a calculation to decide whether it makes sense to buy it. The fact that Ethereum, has supposedly been going to switch to proof of stake, where basically simplified version means GPUs will no longer print crypto, is continuing to be delayed, but theoretically should be in June. Who knows? Question mark. But that's something that people buying these GPUs need to think about. Along with the value of this going down, does mean that people might be less inclined to buy GPUs for this purpose, which helps reduce demand at the high prices, right? Now, the folks over at 3D Center, speaking of I love graphs, look at this. We're color-coded, all sorts of useful information getting communicated in this thing. Oops, I clicked it. And by the way, where is this coming? This is coming from 3D Center. Now, to be clear, this is tracking one particular market. These are based on the average of the respective lowest prices at major German retailers, and this is set in relation to the US MSRP, including exchange to euro and 19% VAT. Now, one reason why that might actually be important, here's a little bit of a side note, but I've seen articles saying that it looks like the NVIDIA Founders Editions got a very quiet 6% price increase on the European markets. So it's actually kind of important that they're tracking this based on the US MSRP because that, as far as we know, hasn't had that same change made to it. So that means the data stays consistent here. Now, the red line is, AMD, the green line is NVIDIA, and the kind of purplish light violet color dotted line here is the availability of the cards. It's an average of all cards. And the yellow line here is Ethereum prices. So this is really interesting because now, for one thing, you can see that when GPUs hit their worst price points of the year in mid-May, you'll also notice that there was a spike in Ethereum value, right? And there was also a decline in supply, availability, not supply, because people were buying up those GPUs because crypto price was skyrocketing, right? There is absolutely a correlation between these things, right? So anyway, are things getting better with the current drop in Ethereum? It does look like it, but it hasn't hit fast, right? It's going to take time for the market to adjust and track these things, especially with the biggest drop happening very, very recently, right? This data going up to January 23rd. So when you look at the overall history of Ethereum, by the way, Ethereum is still above where it was at the beginning of the year. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Even though it's crashing from its current height, if we go back to that initial graph I pulled up just on the Google search here, this is the 1 month outlook on it, right? But if we actually look at a 6-month line, we're kind of back to where we were 6 months ago. And if we look at like a 1 year graph, we're actually still well above a year ago, right? And if we look at like the 5-year line, Ethereum has still been quite profitable for people buying it, even at that massive peak, right? And then it dipped and stayed down for years. It did come back up, and it's still above that price point. So in the grand scheme of things, we can't necessarily say that Ethereum is completely tanked. We need this to continue down and stay down for a while. So in other words, like, am I expecting to see a big crash in the GPUs? Well, for new GPUs, while part of the issue is clearly Ethereum, and I hope you guys can see that compared to this yellow value, right? As the Ethereum value goes up, the GPU prices are trending up. As the Ethereum trends down, the GPU starts to trend down a little bit, right? But there's other things playing into this. There is the cost of actual materials. There is the cost of the supply chain involving transport. In the US market, I think there's still tariffs affecting all of this stuff. And honestly, guys, there is just the greed of companies. Like, I saw an article saying that like ASUS was able to give out massive end of year bonuses because of their just massive profits in this situation. And I think it even specifically cited, I wish I had pulled up the article, it specifically cited the growth in the crypto market as a huge reason for that. So this is definitely tied to crypto among other things. And companies are certainly getting their cut there, right? There's a lot of profit to be made here, record profits all over the board on the people involved in this. But here's where this could help. If Ethereum stays down, goes down and stays down, there becomes a point where people with a lot of GPUs who are mining it might sell them off onto the used market. And that is what could actually then flood the market with millions of GPUs that were used for mining. And by the way, this is a bit of a side note, but I'm not one of the people who think you should be afraid of buying a used mining GPU if the price is right. You do want to do a little research on it, but in general, a lot of times mining cards, while they're run 24/7, a lot of times they're underclocked and undervolted, so the actual workload on that GPU isn't terrible. The miners want the GPU to keep running, and they want to keep the electricity bill down, that kind of thing. So if we see Ethereum go down and stay down, right? That's what would help us. Also, if we eventually actually looks like that proof of stake thing really does happen. Because if you're buying a GPU right now with that proof of stake looming, right? And with Ethereum prices, if they continue to trend down, it becomes less desirable. So we'll see what happens, right? I can't predict what'll happen with Ethereum. It could just spike right back up and then we're back to where we were. Now, even if Ethereum stays down, there's another bit of a downside, which is there are other cryptocurrencies you can mine on GPUs. And while currently Ethereum is by far the most profitable, or it has been, there's nothing that could stop those from just having their values pumped. Although it's complicated calculation because right now there's millions of GPUs mining Ethereum. So if those GPUs all suddenly switched to another cryptocurrency, the way cryptocurrency mining works is that there's a difficult math equation being solved by the GPUs. And so the math equation gets harder to solve as it gets worked on. That's how the difficulty level keeps going up. And it's so, in other words, if all of these GPUs suddenly switch to those other cryptocurrencies, you would see a whole bunch of that crypto get mined, causing kind of an inflation of the amount of currency available, a skyrocketing of the difficulty of that mining. So I guess what I'm saying is it's difficult to predict what exactly would happen to those other cryptocurrencies if these large mining farms all switched over to those other currencies. So I think that if Ethereum crashes, some of that will go to other cryptos, but I don't think all of it necessarily would, and it's difficult to say what would happen to the value of those currencies. I don't know if I explained that super well. Also, now just kind of to end the video, I would say that I'm seeing some signs of life in actually just buying new GPUs for, yes, bad prices, but much better than they were. For example, I keep posting on my community page that you can now get an RX 6600. It's been sitting in stock all the time now on Newegg. I mean, occasionally it sells out, but I think this one's been in stock for a few days now without selling out. At $459.99. We've also got another model at $479.99. I feel like, a few months ago when we're looking at this chart, like back here, it was almost impossible to find a new, reasonably well-performing GPU for under $500. And yes, I understand that the 6600 isn't a GPU that we want to see for $460. We want to see it for $300. I guess the MSRP is $329, but we all thought that MSRP was too high. But the other thing you guys do need to keep in mind is that inflation is very real right now. So the value of money right now is not the same as the value when, 2 years ago when all these prices started going up and pre-COVID and all of that. So it is another thing that we do need to keep in mind. Also, another thing that I like to see is that the 6500 XT from AMD, which, look at my video on that. I'm not saying this is an amazing graphics card, but what I do like to see is I've got this filtered for in stock. These are sitting in stock on Newegg now. So unlike most GPUs, which just instantly sold out at launch and then went onto the scalper eBay market, we are seeing the 6500 XTs sitting in stock. Now, it's not the $199 models that are sitting in stock. It's these $270 ones that are sitting in stock. But they are sitting in stock. And while I think if you're willing to buy a used GPU, you can find a GPU that's as good or better than these, especially if you care about having the encoders and all of that. But just seeing any new GPU sitting in stock for less than $300 does make me happy, even if it's this one. No, the RTX 3050 I don't think is going to sit here in stock at anything near these prices. So if you want my quick thoughts on that is, if you can buy or at least try to get in to buy a 3050 at launch for anywhere near the $250 to $350 price range, I think that's going to be very worth looking into. But if they start coming in stock for more than $350, I think you'll want to seriously consider looking at these RX 6600s. We need to wait and see a full 3050 reviews. But based on my predicted performance and what NVIDIA's released on the performance and leaked benchmarks, I would suspect that this could be a compelling option for people as an alternative to that if its price starts creeping up into that $400, $450 price range. All right, guys, I've got to get to work. What do you guys think? Let me know. Have an excellent day.